come to you now at the turn of the tide on today's Unnamed Real Estate Podcast. Do doot, do 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 doot, do 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 doot, do 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 do. Hi, my name is Charles Ray Dawson. This is the Unnamed Real Estate Podcast. I am the associate broker, residential sales manager, and person incredibly frustrated with technology today at ProStar Realty. And I hope you guys are all having a good day. So the reason for the intro like this is because Microsoft likes to roll these little updates out. And the cool thing about Windows 10 is you don't have to think about updates. They're just going to load them into the background. And one day when you're trying to shut down your machine, it's going to go, no, stop. You have an update. We're going to install an update. And you can't turn this machine off for the next 5 minutes, which really sucks if you're trying to get somewhere quick. I was not trying to get somewhere quick this morning, but it did want to do an update, and I said, sure, go ahead, run that update, and then what happens after that? Well, what happens is it changes something in one of the libraries that my recording software uses, and now my recording software does not work on my computer. And, of course, you discover this when you're about ready to start your podcast. And I was going to have a really big graphics-heavy podcast, right? I had so many things to talk about. I had so many charts and slides and graphs and stuff like that. And, normally how I pull this thing in with a screen save or screen share, not going to get that today. So what we're going to do today, we're just going to old school this, right? We're going to try to gauge all of your senses. Unfortunately, it's video. We can't engage everybody's senses, right? We can do visual. We can do audible. I can't do touch. Bad touch, all right? I can't have you guys touch me. Worse touch. Right. I can describe the manly scent that I'm wearing right now, which is a sandalwood shaving oil, right, that I really like, and other people have commented. Very rarely have I ever put a scent on me and had anybody go, oh, I like the way you smell, so, yeah, sandalwood. I was even going to show you, a picture of the sandalwood shaving soap that I use, so you could, order it for your boyfriend or husband or anything like that. But nope, that's not going to happen. So anyways, if you are disappointed, blame Bill Gates or whoever's running Microsoft now. So fun news. And like I said, we are at potentially the turn of the tide right now. And why do I say that is because, right now I'd be showing up your graphic showing you that the sales price per square foot of housing, which is one of the other ways we actually track how housing is selling, has actually gone pretty flat for the last week or so, at least since this time last week. A couple other things are going on that we do see a lot more. Buyers are starting to come back, and we might be done. Take this with a big grain of salt because it's what time is it right now? Okay. It's 2:00 on a Thursday, and if there's anything the real estate news has been doing very well, it's dropping news at 5:00 on a Thursday. So I'm always just a half day behind, and there's usually something momentous coming on. Right? But what we have had up at the moment of recording is NAR's coming up. Came out earlier today and said that because the inflation rate seems to have slowed a little bit, and what I mean by slowed a little bit is that it dropped from a 9.2 down to an 8 point something or other, that we're showing a possibly less need for another rate hike. Rates have seemed to have stabilized, and they do appear to be, if we continue on this track, we'll probably be stabilizing in the mid-4s. That's really important because that's what kicked off this entire summer of craziness we had, was that sudden rate surge, which scared a lot of buyers off. Those buyers seem to be coming back to us. They seem to be re-engaging. This is all good things, right? Especially for the sellers who are sitting out there. It's like, oh, wow, did I miss the boat? I mean, should I have sold back in March? Did I miss it? Now, they are starting to come back. All right? And honestly, this is healthy. As painful as it sounds, sort of like debriding a wound. All right. It's going to be painful, but it's ultimately healthy in the long run. We did not have enough inventory. We still don't have enough inventory. We still should have more inventory than we actually have. All right. But that sudden surge in listings, in inventory, is doing wonders for returning us back to that balanced market that I've been talking about since forever. So, anyways, NAR, National Association of Realtors, their chief economist, Lawrence Yun, came out and says that, mortgage rates might have topped back and they're starting to recede. And that's what we're seeing out there on the street. So good news for all of this. So two other fun little news things I want to point out. Cromford report, and we're going to cover the Cromford report numbers here in a bit. Cromford said that the arrival rate of new listings is starting to slow up. All right, so we're no longer see that big surge of listings that we had on top of suddenly lowering of demand. So that's also good. All right, and that's we're seeing that normalization of the market that came out on August 10th from Cromford report. We were averaging probably about an additional 500 a week, and that's starting to slow up quite a bit. So in the real estate gossip side of the house, and we all know how we love to gossip, two things. One, news article today came out here in Arizona talking about the Open Door lawsuit. They were winding up having to pay like $63 million to previous people who sold their houses to Open Door because they were accused of misleading advertising, misleading to sellers of homes that they were going to actually get full market value for their house if they sold to Open Door. I've worked with clients before in the past, and I've always said from the very get-go, and this is just pure, absolutely pure looking at the numbers, they don't buy at full market price. You're always going to pay a discount on that. They're always going to discount for condition. They're always going to discount, they're going to charge you. At one point, they were charging 10% convenience fee or transaction fee, or whatever they were calling it that week. Because remember, 10% of a convenience transaction fee is better than a 6% commission. Transaction fee's good, commission's bad. So anyway, so they're writing a check for that. There was actually one iBuyer out there that was paying at market rate or above market rate, and they used to be called Zillow, and we all saw what happened to them. All right, so Open Door is I don't think this is going to kill Open Door. They still have a strong place in the market and everything like that. They still provide that convenience of, I don't want to have to sell my house. I just want to get rid of it, and I just want money, and I can afford to leave tens of thousands of dollars on the table because I'm so fabulously rich. Though there always going to be a need in the market for they just make the house go away crowd, right? And so, and the people who just, do not handle the stress of selling a house well, right? Buying and selling a house is a stressful thing. This is not for children, all right? And the Open Door model of we'll take the stress away and it'll cost you. Some people just would rather deal with losing money than dealing with stress. So what do we call those people in the real estate industry? Weak. We call them weak. That's a joke. So anyways, another thing that came out really, really fun is that there's this new company trying to move into the Arizona market here. They're called Bid My Listing, right? And their business model is that they're going to approach people who are willing to sell their house, willing to go for this most stressful period in their life, and you can put your house on the market for listing real estate agents to bid what they're willing to sell your house for, how much service and convenience and everything else that they're going to provide for you, right? And it's going to be on a sliding bid. So, you have a house, all right? And let's say you have let's go something low end first, all right? You have a house that's going to market at about $245,000 in South Maryvale, 150 yards off the 10 down there. And you want to sell, and so you're going to place your house up for a bid, right? And agents are going to come in and say, "I'll sell that house for $349. Okay, do I hear do I hear 325? Okay, do I hear commission of 3%? Sold. Joey gets to sell my house for 3% total commission, right? And Joey's going to go out there and get the listing, and then have to do that split thing. He'll take 1.5 and send the other 1.5 over to the buyer's agent if the buyer's agent shows up. And yeah, everything's going to go pretty well for them. Meanwhile, the house out in Scottsdale, that's $1.5 million. All right, that bidding is going to start a little bit higher on the price point. Right? So ultimately, what we get to do here is we get to create that business model. All right, that unfortunately consumers seem to think all real estate agents are exactly the same. And as we saw from South Park last week, all right, in that cracked.com video, they actually don't do anything. Okay, and since we don't actually do anything, we'll bid down for the lowest rate to do absolutely nothing on the selling of your house. So we'll see how that works out for people. It should be a lot of fun. Remember, my gods are Nemesis, the gods of the copybook heading, and Karma. All right, and my gods have struck down Zillow in the past for playing stupid real estate games. So we'll see how Bid My Listing, and more importantly, the sellers who decide to use Bid My Listing, how well that works out for them all. So, anyways, let's talk about the numbers real quick. All right, normally you'd be seeing this screen. I'm not going to hold this up there and read it because I can't read the words backwards as I see it through that. It occurred to me that if I printed that on double side, I could have, but all right. Numbers for August 10th, 2022. All right. Actives this week are 18,218, up 472. All right. New listings were 2,539, down 81. Continuing the slide. All right. Like I say, the delta is shrinking on that. Pendings this week were 1,326, up 93. Under contracts looking for backups are at 795, up 18. And contracts with the buyer's contingency are at 136, up 11. So everything that takes the water out, houses going in contract have all gone up. Good news for people, right? Closings last week were 1,235. Remember, that's reflecting houses that went under contract 30 to 45 days prior. And coming into an MLS near you is 832, down from what we've been seeing, because usually we see that in the nines or, the low thousands. So showing just what we were seeing on the national news and on the Cromford report. Pendings are starting to go up. Buyers are coming back into the market. Sellers are coming onto the market at a slower rate than they were before. Still increasing. All right, we're going to have to go on here for a while for that delta to measure out. And at this point in the video, I was going to sit there and show you my my little chart that I use for track that, and you could see it starting to level out. All right, and if you sort of continue that parabolic curve, I was looking at, hey, maybe end of September we hit our max. Maybe mid-September we hit our max, but we're definitely starting to slow up on that. And of course, that's subject to change. Like I said, we're hearing fours consistently, all right, in rates quoted right now, all right. A lot of people who were scared off because they were touching 6, right? That's a lot more purchasing power people have again, which means they can, all of a sudden they can afford houses again. So let's continue on with this thing. And then finally, for the Cromford report numbers in the Cromford index itself, buyers right now are at 79.8, and supply is at 69.3. All right, supply went up at a full point. All right, and buyers are still, trending down. I expect that number to actually maybe start creeping up here in the next week or two. So we are still not considered a true balanced market until those two numbers are within 10% of each other, or 10 points of each other. And as you can see, like looking at that, we only have 0.5 left to go of those numbers getting close to each other before we can start calling yourself, hey, guess what? Actual balanced market. It's still going to be a slow market because, you're looking at the difference between those two. All right, but that's where we're at with that. So many things I wanted to talk about. But the other thing that this particular backup program does is it makes really, really huge files. So at a certain point, it's going to be impossible to render this whole thing. So I'm going to call this a short week. Thank you very much. We go back about watching people and pets around water, and that includes apparently Lake Pleasant last weekend. Apparently they had somebody drown out there. I don't go through the news looking for drowning information and stuff. This is just the chatter I get. This was something that came up in the office, on Monday. So watch kids and pets around the pools. All right, work your circles. You know what? I've never explained to you what working your circle means. All right. And this is actually a conversation I was having yesterday with a client. And what I mean by working the circle, all right, is it's your spheres of influence. Right? And I want you to picture in your head, got to be great to have a graphic right now, a archery target. Everybody's seeing an archery target, right? You got that concentric circles going into the bullseye. They're all different colors. Right? And as these circles go in, there's scores, right? For those of you guys who shoot, 10 ring, Maggie's drawers, right? If you're in the military, you know what Maggie's drawers means, right? The concept of working your circle is that you have multiple circles of influence, right? You have more influence the closer into the center, and you have less influence the farther out you get, right? So the one circle that you have the most control over of your life, and this is just pure life guru advice, people, right? The most control you have over your life is with your mind and your attitude, right? Yes, chemical imbalances, past drama, whatever it is, okay? You don't have 100% control, otherwise we'd all be Spock, right? But you do have control over that. And you have more control over your mind and your outlook and your attitude. And what you feed your mind, outlook and attitude, right? Get off social media. It's the Antichrist, all right? Listen to uplifting music, all right? Then you do the next circle out, which is your physical body, all right? You can diet, you can work out. Yes, some people are paraplegic. Some people have incurable diseases, but you still have an effect on that. You have more of an effect on your body than you do your next circle out, right? And that is your close friends and family and your environment, right? You can clean up your room. You can have a meaningful conversation with a spouse or a family member and get things unscrewed, right? Your next circle out from that you have less control over than you do over your family is your friends and the people you hang out with. Now, there's a little dichotomy. I mean, there's a little mix up right there, because ultimately you can leave friends. You can go, hey, you're a bad influence on me. I'm going to quit letting you drag me out to karaoke Wednesday nights and get me all liquored up and singing bad songs on stage. Not looking at anybody, but you know who you are. All right. But ultimately, you have more of an influence on your family than you on your friends. Okay, outside of your friends and your immediate peer circle is your community, your local community. Remember, your vote counts more for your local mayor than it does for president. All right, and then outside that, you have the country, because remember, we only have so much influence we can have on those people in Washington. If you believe you have any influence whatsoever, you've obviously not been paying attention to the news for about the last 10 years, right? And then the last of it on the outside is world affairs. And for some reason enough, everybody in the world right now, their interest is inverted. Okay, they care more about what they perceived as global issues than they do about their immediate personal well-being and health. They get more worked up about stuff at the national levels and who the FBI investigating this week than they do about stuff that's happening right here in the state. Like the very fact that we just found out that Saudi Arabia has been pumping Arizona water to grow alfalfa, all right, to ship over to Saudi Arabia to feed cattle. That's our water, and we weren't getting paid for it. All right, we can have more of an impact getting that unscrewed, okay, than we can about whether or not we're shipping weapons off to Ukraine, or what's going on with China and Taiwan or anything like that. But for some reason, we'll care more about Ukraine and China and Taiwan and whether or not Europe's going to burn up in a heat wave or anything like that. So remember, the farther out it is, the less influence you have. So when I say work your circles, you work as tight as yourself as possible, right? Work your brain, work your body, work your family, work your spheres of influence, right? Yeah, and I think you'll be a happier people. I really do. I know I am. Can't you tell? I'm gleeful on the inside. So you guys have a really great weekend. Thanks for putting up with me, and I'll talk to you guys all later. Music out. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da